Hi guys, welcome everyone. We'll start in few minutes once we have enough audience. We'll take like 2 minutes to start. All right guys, so we'll start now. So first of all, a very warm welcome to one and all who have joined us and the one who are about to join us today. We have this very interesting topic on which we are going to have our discussion, and it is backed up by this panel discussion along with people from Marsul, Plantivaka and Delivery Hero, and I'll introduce them all of them as well. But first, the topic. So the topic for today is redefining mobile app onboarding and retention with a customer first mindset. So the whole point is how customer centricity is very important for any mobile app brand, and basis that what all things that they should take care of in regards to experience, in regards to engagement, and any sort of loyalty basis engagements and enhancements that they keep doing. And today, along with me, we have Yasin, who is product manager. There is Aflobi, who's co-founder and VP product development at Plantivaka, and then Hazwa, who is director for growth Q-commerce from Delivery Hero. Now, all three of them, the one thing which is common is they have customer centricity and they are into services. So I think the kind of insight that we are going to have in our session in the later part of our discussion is going to be completely insightful and a very detailed one. So how we are going to go ahead with our discussion today is where first we will have the first part of our discussion is where we will have I giving you a complete run through on certain context, certain ideas, certain insights that we've got from the market and that we would like to talk about. And in the second half, we will, that's the most interesting part, by the way, we will have Yasin, Aflobi and Hazwa talking about this specific topic, and I have a quick fireside chat with them on their thoughts on customer first mindset. So getting started, introducing myself, my name is Mayank. I'm AVP Product Sales International Markets for Netcore Solutions. And I majorly work with brands like, or brands from different verticals in overall solution-centric approach and ideas and thinking on a lot of ideas which can lead to a better onboarding, better retention, and many such things around that. So the whole idea today is going to be around retention to start with, right? And overall, every brand, they have these two approaches, which is acquisition and the second is retention. But how much retention is very important. And I think during pandemic time, this has been very evident with lot of approach and thoughts and enhancements done by the brand to ensure that whatever they have retained until now is something that they keep retained. And that's where we have this three interesting facts that we would like to share with you, and this is something based on our discussion and sources across various blogs. First one is increasing the customer retention rate by 5% is actually increasing profits from 25% to 95%. So acquisition, if you look at, be it any sort of CPL campaign you run or SEO campaign you run, requires a lot of time and effort and energy to finally bring that customer on board, and per customer acquisition can run into dollars. But when it comes to retention, if we are having a proper focus on that, that can definitely lead to a better profits, which can like really ramp up to 95%. Second is a 2% increase in customer retention will have a much better effect in terms of long term and the customer lifetime value of the user, thus decreasing the cost by 10%. And the third interesting part that I would like to add here is that overall we see that loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. So if a user is continuously buying with you, a customer who is loyal with you, you will see that there is 10 times as much better worth as compared to what you would have it otherwise. So that's majorly on the retention profit. Why is it very important for profit oriented companies? And the second part is, one second, let me just remove this. Okay, the second part is from brands. So brands who are pretty loyal to us, what are the brands they're willing to do? What are consumers willing to do? What for a brand means a loyal customer is? What was their definition for that? So for certain brands that we have spoken, they say that, it is about a brand referring the brand to other friends or, family members about the brand. I think a lot of our the brand overall virality that has happened in the market is majorly because of this point, which is majorly on how Uber has done it, how Airbnb is doing it at scale, where they have a very good referral program overall, just to ensure that the growth is really backed up by some good recommendations by the customers. The second interesting fact is 52.3% of the user who join the loyalty program, they say that 52.3% of customer will join a loyalty program or a VIP program, is where they overall see the retention is like really enhancing. And some of it is also on the part which is spending more. So this is somewhere, if you look at interlinked to the second point, which is on the loyalty program, but brands who are able to spend more are seeing that they are able to have a better retention overall. So I think that's where the second interesting factor is coming out. Overall, how the whole onboarding, and that's I think our topic for today as well, how the whole onboarding experience is very much interlinked to the retention experience, is where I think we will have our whole discussion today. Majorly, you will see that while an onboarding experience does not mean that's your last impression, but it does carry that lasting impression. And that's where, when a user is acquired, whenever there is a sign up that is happening at that time, what is that kind of experience and how much reduction in time to value that we are able to provide defines how the retention is going to be. And that is where exactly our experience and our thought process has to be. Day 0 retention rates and day 7 retention rates are some of the key challenges. And I think we have covered this in some of our previous webinars as well, how we are able to improve that by ensuring that the first experience by the user on the app gets enhanced. This is all about, the first time when you go to a store and when you meet the person on the other side, how they greet you, what are the kind of, products that they're able to show, what are the kind of discount value that they are able to give you, and how easy and quick the transaction is basically defines why you will keep going to that store again and again. And this is all defined by a certain mindset wherein we keep customer in the center, and basis that we have all our programs set, which is one of the most heavy implementation over the course of time has been on analytics. So overall, we have seen that there has been 5,300% growth since 2002. Since 2011, and it's been around about 10 years now, and there has been 5,300% growth on marketing analytics. And these insights are like super important to understand what are the kind of habits users are making and what are the habits that brand managers or marketing managers want their customers to have. And that's where the key emphasis then goes on these two very primary important modules, which work hand in hand. One is customer engagement channels, is like what all channel engagement you are able to do, right, when the user is not on the app or within the app. And the second part is having engaged when they are pretty much on the app. So there are modules like in-app messages generally, which are being used, or there are indicative tooltips or contextual nudges, which are generally used under user engagement as a module to ensure that our mindset and our approach is very much customer first. And that's where we tried to list down these four primary factors. So one bit is omni-channel personalization, which ensures that user is personalized in whatever kind of modules they are spoken to. Second is the engagement is pretty much contextual in nature, so that it talks about wherever what is best relevant as a dialogue to them from the specific channel that they would have liked. And this could be backed up by a lot of machine learning as well, wherein we understand what is the preferred channel, what is that preferred content they would like to have, and understand there are language preferences as well as, brands are going global. Second is the communications are also becoming intelligent, which means that, hitting the user at the right time with the right content, with the right channel, and finally getting that engagement in place. So that's where these intelligent communications are like really, really important, backed up by a bit of machine learning. And all in all, the product experience has to be like very delightful. Now everyone says that, okay, that is there, like product experience has to be delightful. But then there are two parts to it. The delightful experience does not come at the first go you deploy something. It has to be keep on repeating with a lot of experiments that you have to keep doing to understand, how much more enhancements you are doing and how much those enhancements are backed up by some bit of analytics, which can help you understand, okay, this is being adopted well or not being adopted well. And that experimentation cycle has to be repeating very, very much time and again. It is not a 1 month sprint that we should ideally have. It's like a weekly activity on the experimentation bit that we have to do. Starting with analytics in the whole circle of customer mindset approach, analytics being at the center of it, we need to understand that there are various ways how we can understand the user path behavior, or maybe a behavior which is telling us that when a user has just signed up and sorry, to the time that when the user has finally churned or they would have done their first transaction, what are those places they would have dropped, and indicatively what are their reasons of dropping. So when I say what are their reasons, it means understanding the why behind their behavior. It is not just about they showing a certain behavior, but also understanding the why behind that behavior, which is also backed up by a lot of this analysis, which are very specific to mobile apps like cohorts, user path analysis, behavior analytics. And there are certain interesting screen grabs that we would like to show you. And this is where the mindset has to be. When the user first time comes on the app, and the marketer who is right now planning to create that customer first mindset for their approach in their marketing activities, in their branding activities, is first of all they analyze where is the drop happening. And for that there is funnel analysis, there is user path analysis, there are cohorts, and based on that, lot of these trends you are able to see in correlation in multiple events, finally coming out with insights which are very, very useful for us to take an action, as in what next to be done by the user or by the brand manager to take it ahead, by the product manager to take it ahead. And what is that first input? First of all, let's see what all engagement channels do we have, and what is best preferred for that specific geography or for that specific type of customer, which is backed up by certain machine learning. Is where there are channels like app push notification, in-app messages, web push notifications, FB Messenger, and all of these campaigns not just have to work in silos, but they have to talk to each other. A classic example would be an email is sent and basically the user has not engaged, and then you maybe retry via push notification, and again other retry based on other channels like SMS or maybe Facebook custom audience or Messenger or Viber, is where all the channels will talk to each other in a very smart way. So gone are the days when the batch and blast approach used to follow, wherein one time when the campaign is sent, it is like done a blast to all the users at once, and then that's all. But now that approach has to change. That approach has to majorly be on the lines of how smartly we can engage with the users on all the channels based on their preferences. The final interesting part here is contextual nudges and walkthroughs. And I think this is the most interesting part for me. Now understand one thing, the most interest or the intent by the user is when they are on your app. And that's where you will have to define certain things for the user. So one is very, very intelligent onboarding plan that we need to have in place. From the time they open the app, they are guided how they can get the first level value, which is maybe registration. And the second level value, which is the final transaction, or maybe getting their ride booked, or getting a grocery transaction done, or ordering something which is online. The time to value has to like really reduce, and that's where you need to guide the user, because every app is going and becoming that super app, having a lot of features in place. But when I come to the app, I would like to see something which is the most beneficial for me. And that's where the whole time to value has to like reduce. And that's where discovery of that relevant feature has to come into play. And this is where I would like to talk about some of the very interesting things done by these brands. So the first example that you see on the screen is about a brand from Southeast Asia who wanted to highlight a specific section, and which is more on the premium side. This is EduTech brand. And they highlighted this section despite of having so many options on the screen, which is guiding the user and highlighting this section saying that, hey, why don't you click here to get started? Likewise, this is that Indian brand who wanted to increase registrations. And that's where when the user signs up with them, they have registration being informed in their local language. Language, again, is a very important factor, right? To connect with the user on the other side. And not just this message will help, but this message has to be tried and tested multiple times. Like, for example, this could be tested with name or without name or with any other attribute personalization, like, you know, balance or maybe a wallet or discount voucher. And the representation of this has to be experimented again based on color combination with CTA, without CTA, like a tooltip or a spotlight or a beacon. So there are like a lot of combinations to be tried out. The second interesting thing that we see generally happening is placeholders inside the app, is where MPL, one of the leading gaming app from India, it's a fantasy gaming app from India, is where they tried out whenever there is a experiment that they specifically used to do. They used to try out on specific segment of users, like more controlled campaign. And that's where they have tried out this layout, where let's say in this particular layout, you will see, let's say the banner is coming on the top. And let's say the banner in this scenario is coming below. That's basically, they see that they have experimented this with multiple set of audiences, is where the banner is being put up or somewhere in the center or maybe below, and where they see the maximum adoption of this happening. And wherever they saw that they are able to sustain good retention, good click rates, good engagement, and reduce overall churn, is where they would like to go ahead with the final layout. Because see, at the end of the day, UI UX is something that you can keep it, but how to further enhance it is where we need that sort of input. All of this, how we come into play, is where Netcore for mobile apps is generally to ensure that all of these factors are being considered for you. That's where we have customer engagement, product experience, and hyper personalization at scale, which ensures that all your communications, be it offline or be it online, or whatever examples that we have shown, are done at scale with heavy experimentation and control group testing, along with a lot of machine learning input, and finally a good layer of analytics all across, which ensures all your experiments, all your channel related input, all your behavior related input are shown at one platform, and you are able to take a decision which is more unified. And that's majorly on the part where, guys, I would like to set up this specific context for you all. So I hope I was able to talk about specific, which is very, very relatable to you. Would like to have a quick poll here. Out of how many of you would like to have a quick look at the whole Netcore's no-code growth marketing platform in action, to see how exactly this is working for you all. So by this time, what I've shown you are a few examples which are very much related to what MPL has done, what all some of those international brands we are working with, they have done. But now the whole idea is how we can do it specifically for you when we speak to you one-on-one. All right. So with this, now we come to the second part, which is the most interesting part here. I'll be ending the poll now, which is having a discussion with our panel experts. This part is where I would like to introduce my team members, my co-hosts, my speakers for the day, and these are champions. So I would like to start off with Haswa. Haswa, who works with this Europe MNC brand called Delivery Hero. It is backed up by many brands. There is Talabat, Food Panda, Foodora, Hunger Station, and so many brands are within that being conglomerate of Delivery Hero. And recently, there has been some very, very interesting, cases that I've heard that they've got like immense growth despite of, this pandemic. So, Haswa, so first of all, welcome to our session today. And definitely, I think your insights on, what you have gained over the course of time would be very useful. I have one specific question for you as we start is you have worked, so overall Delivery Hero has recently announced that there has been 79% growth year on year. And you guys were able to process like, 730 million odd orders. So what was the overall approach, to attain these interesting numbers of, 79% year on year growth and 730 million orders despite of, pandemic hitting? So are there some interesting insight? I know that there is Q-commerce you guys have built in, which is like the next generation, platform as far as delivery is concerned. Would you like to share any insight on that?
Hey, I'm happy to be here and thanks for inviting me to this quick session. So to speak of, my name is Hazwa Dosri. I look after growth and marketing for Delivery Hero in KSA, within the KSA market. Overall, the growth that Delivery Hero actually been achieving on the past period is a combination of a lot of we can say a lot of markets and a lot of huge team actually working with a lot of innovation and customer retention matrix that we're trying to build. But overall, we take each market individually and we analyze what is the potential growth that we can see there, and based on that, we develop. If we're talking about specifically KSA, we're looking after the Q-commerce heavily, which is the new approach that we're driving with each platform. The Q-commerce, which is we're talking about groceries, on-demand delivery, and also deliver anything and all the choices and innovation that we can bring into the table for the Float platform, which is, I think that was the main heavy driver that we're trying to push in each market. That's been a very key success for us over the past couple of years, and specifically with the pandemic, because everything stopped and you only can order online, and it was a really interesting growth phase for us at that period.
Interesting as well. I think we'll get back to you. We'll circle back to those interesting innovations that you guys have implemented in your organization to bring us that kind of growth. I think I would like to now introduce my second speaker for the day, Yasin. So Yasin is a very result-oriented guy. He's part of this large conglomerate called Marsul, which is present in multiple countries. And he comes with that experience that he has previously worked with Hunger Station. And so overall, when it comes to delivery tech or for tech brand, is where he has got his mark. And Marsul, if I have to talk about, it is that one brand which very proudly say that they are the top-rated apps when it comes to this segment on the store. So, Yasin, this is my question to you. So you have worked with Hunger Station earlier. Now you work with Marsul, which is one of the highest rated app. What, according to you, is the biggest element of success for a delivery tech or a food tech brand?
Thank you for the introduction, Mayank. For me, being a part of this industry, I really think, for delivery apps, I really think what distinguishes one player from another is experience.
Yeah.
So you have to have your unique selling point, even more than any other market. So, with so many competitors, let's say at least in the local market here, competition on prices doesn't really pay off. So you have to have something else other than price to offer to customers. So everyone can make marketing campaigns and make free delivery, etc. But that only brings you temporary customers. If you don't keep them with retention, with the experience, none of that gets built into your growth. So I think experience is definitely number one.
Correct.
I think if you look around in the market, you'll find that every successful app, every successful app in the region, has their own niche, has their own thing that they are most, let's say, most known for. So, for example, like you mentioned, I worked in Hunger Station previously, and the Hunger Station has immense geographical coverage. They usually deliver in cities that no one else is there. They are sometimes the only choice. So that's a very interesting strategy to have. They're very successful with that. They also focus on, for example, on the selection. So when you have this kind of geographical expansion, they obviously have the most amount of restaurants, the most amount of, let's say, flower shops, groceries, etc. So they are focusing on this mass market approach,
Right.
which is working very, very well for them. Obviously, like currently in Saudi Arabia, they are the market leader.
Mm-hmm.
For us in Mersul, let's say we work like we don't directly compete with other food delivery apps because we're a bit unique. We deliver everything basically. Like our motto in Mersul is deliver anything to anywhere. So for us, also the focus is on experience, like I mentioned. So our unique experience is about making people's lives easier, which sounds corny to say, but like truly, Mersul is focused number one on doing this. Like we have so many special kinds of services that we can offer you. Like Mersul is somewhat of a pseudo super app, you could say, through our services. So for example, you could, like for us here, like cooking is done through gas canisters. So like it's sometimes a hassle to unplug your gas canister, take it to the market, fill it up, or get a new one and bring a new one like that. We offer that in Mersul, for example. Like that's very unique. That has nothing to do with food delivery, but that's something Mersul offers. We offer other like services related to the government also. Like for example, if you want to have a paper signed or let's say adjudicated by like a judge or like a contract being verified, etc. We also have that. Like we have that kind of relationship with the government as well. So yeah, basically our focus is on delivering the most value to people.
Correct.
And not just like focusing on like the fastest delivery or the cheapest delivery or the most amount of selection, but rather on the experience itself. What we offer in Mersul, we can claim that nobody else can do.
Yes, exactly my point. I've experienced Mersul app, and I think the first thing you guys do is open the chat window and say that please talk to us. We'll tell you what it wants to be delivered. And that's exactly that experience bit is coming out. And I'll come to you. I'll circle back on more questions around that. But now let me introduce my third speaker here, Aflobi. Aflobi is part of Plenty Waka, and he's co-founder and VP Products and Operations at Plenty Waka. So Plenty Waka means plenty as in large amount, and Waka, which is like a Nigerian pidgin word for journey. And it's one of the leading when it comes to, reliable bus transportation in Nigeria and Ghana. Talking about Ghana, they've like recently expanded to Ghana. And that's mainly because they have been doing so great in Nigeria. They got backed up by so much funding. And so that's in fact my question to you. So first of all, congratulations, Aflobi, on the recent funding. And I know that with that, Plenty Waka has now expanded to Ghana as well. So what is the key reason of Plenty Waka's success and expansion despite of pandemic hitting the commute services the most?
Thank you, Mayak. Good day, everyone. My name is Afolabi, as rightly introduced earlier. And to kick this off, I mean, the success of what we are doing at Plenty Waka is largely as a result of the team strength. We have an amazing team of young, vibrant, and talented professionals who are hungry and passionate about what we are building at Plenty Waka. We have been able to identify a unique need and a gap that needs to be bridged across every region in Africa that uses public transportation on a daily basis. And that's the challenges that we have identified has pushed us to a point where we feel these things are quite unique to, I mean, they're peculiar to every African continent. Correct. And there's a need for us to bridge that gap by building a safer, a more convenient and a more reliable public transportation system, being powered largely by technology, and ensure that the users that we move on a day-to-day basis have this level of belief in using the public transportation system, because it's gotten to a place where people don't really feel safe anymore, living from their houses to their offices. They don't feel comfortable enough to want to go out at a particular time because they are not guaranteed that they're going to get buses. But with what we are doing at Plenty Waka and with what the team is doing, using technology to power how transportation is being used, how public transportation is being perceived across board, we're able to internally build a very strong team, and then implement a very vibrant work culture that enables us have fun as much as we actually want to work. And I mean, nobody likes to work in a chaotic environment. And when you provide a conducive environment where people are largely at ease with whatever it is they are doing, it's easier for you to achieve your goals and scale whatever products you're building and take it to several markets across the region of Africa. And that's what we have been able to do using the team strength and the passion of everybody on the team to achieve what we set for ourselves as a goal. And that's why one country at a time we've started, spreading the gospel of taking the safer commute, a more convenient commute system to every African region.
I can tell you one thing, Aflobi. I think if your team is listening to this webinar, they would be like very, very happy to hear the kind of kind words that you have, spoken about them. So definitely when it comes to
fantastic thing we have here.
So definitely when it comes to startups, I mean, the team has to be at the core of it, and what they deliver is, what really defines your future. So,
Exactly.
very, very much rightly mentioned by you. And, working on in the Nigeria market, which can be a little tough, considering the security piece which you highlighted, is pretty awesome. Now, moving on to the next question, and I think I would start with you, Hazwa, primarily because that's more on the lines of, personalization, and you guys are doing that well. So when it comes to understanding the user path, which is very important for your brand, and as we all know that personalization in onboarding starts from the acquisition path itself, the time when we onboard them. What all strategies do you guys generally put into place to ensure that the personalization is there from the very initial path of acquisition, and so it is going on with the retention piece?
Okay, thanks. So to start here, with each platform, we have different strategy, but speaking about Case A specifically, each customer path will start with the first acquisition offer that we're offering. And from there, we start deep dive analytic of each customer touch point inside the app, just to understand the behavior from the homepage to the listing page, different type of CVR, just to understand what exactly they're doing. And I think we're relying a lot of big data and analysis just to understand their behavior. And from there, we go to segmentation, which is a huge part of our, let's say, technical innovation, which is just understand, once we understand the behavior, we dive into segmentation for the customer base. And from there, we start tackling each segment with what suits them. And we start testing phase, A/B testing a lot, just to understand better how can we keep this customer, and how can we have a better retention as we move forward. We do a lot of testing. A/B testing is the key. Segmentation, understanding, analytic within the app. Each touch point needs to be tracked so you can better understand what is the main driver for the customer inside the app. I think when you have a better control on this, you can go ahead and just, as you test and figure out which work the best. Like groceries are different than food platform. Food platform are different than flower platform. Flower users deliver everything customer are definitely different than the grocery. So we have a lot of verticals within the same app, and each vertical have a different customer behavior, and each customer behavior actually different driver that we need to tackle from. So we do a lot of testing, a lot of segmentation, and from there we take it to the next level of implementing the right strategy for each segment.
Segmentation, testing, and analytics is what I take from you as well on this. If I ask the same question to you, Yasin, considering, when it comes to personalized experiences, you guys have excelled a lot, right? From the point when the user sort of gets acquired, I think you guys ask for gender and other details as well. And later on, it's about that personalized chat experience. And you have deployed those interesting tooltips and contextual nudges, right? So would you like to also take up and, throw some light on how Marsul is doing it?
Yeah, like I mentioned, since experience is the core to we offer Marsul, we definitely love personalization. Like you mentioned, we ask for gender, for age, for email, for example, for many different kinds of things. So we like to segment or cluster our users at the first stage. So once they're signing up, we are onboarding them. they get a unique sort of onboarding based on their cluster or parameters. We also have something unique, which is that we use the same app actually for both our drivers and our customers, or as we like to call them, like couriers and buyers. So based on that, we also get a different sort of experience. Like as a courier, you get different screens, you get different sort of nudges, like you mentioned. We definitely like to use contextual tools a lot. Like our UX team definitely loves them. So we use the contextual highlight, we use the nudges. We also use something different to create some habit loops, which is especially for drivers, which is like a tough segment to handle because they are usually on the lower end of technological capability. So sometimes to nudge them in the right direction and to gently move them to the desired flow, like we lock some screens for a certain amount of time, for example. So to give you a concrete example, we noticed that lots of couriers deliver orders without, they accept the order, they bid on it, etc., without really reading the contents. Okay. So what we try to do is force them to read it in a way where once you're in that screen, you need three more seconds, for example, to be able to progress. So right. That leaves room for couriers because there's this fierce competition between them, as you know. They're working in a freelance environment, so everyone has to make their own, let's say, orders. So we try and give a fair shot to everyone. Yeah. This 3-second rule applies to everyone, so everyone has to read the order before making that decision. So that's the sort of thing we try and nudge our users with, this small UX contextual tools and ways to.
Very interesting, yes. And you know what? A week back, I was discussing something with a Southeast Asian brand who are also into delivery, very similar to what you guys do. And they had a specific challenge, which was a drop off during this time when the final order is getting executed. There were a lot of drop offs happening. Now I get to understand why that would be happening. This would be an interesting insight for them. So thank you so much for that, Yasin. So Aflobi, coming to you now, primarily I see that there is daily Waka, travel Waka, corporate Waka as 3 primary segments, and that's how maybe the most of your travel happens. But when it comes to under these specific segments on the personalization bit, what are you guys doing specifically that can be very insightful for all of us?
I mean, in terms of acquisition of customers?
Both acquisition and retention.
Basically, I think it's imperative to know that when you're taking a new product to the market, right, because the product is alien to the end users, you want to do whatever it takes to get your product into the hands of people who you think need it. In doing that, you're seeking validation. A clear example of such is betting a new baby. The mother offers the baby milk as validation to the baby that it is safe, and that's what the baby's growth is going to be dependent on for the next couple of months. And in turn, you realize that at some point, the baby cannot do without milk. And same goes for taking a product to the market for the first time. Like they often say in marketing, a trial would convince you. That is why you see most brands engage in what we call an act of activation. It is a necessity to start testing out what you have built and in turn gather enough feedback to help you further develop and enhance your product to better serve your end users. When your product is validated by a user, retention first comes from that user. Yeah. So that the user in most cases submit themselves to be retained because you've been able to convince them that your product meets their needs. The lifetime of that user, however, with your product, as time goes on, will depend on the brand maintaining the quality of that product or services. If you have introduced them to the product, the level of customer engagement to always manage that relationship between the user and the brand, that's the first point of introduction to the product itself. This is what helps brands grow and scale their businesses to the point where you perceive them to be successful and they start acquiring businesses in view of expansion. The second part of it is I mean, COVID-19, for instance, sure dealt the world a huge blow, and a lot of brands have had to diversify into other verticals to stay afloat. But the trend patterns we have seen with brand running peculiar services is that they've had to develop an even deeper bond with their users by appealing to their emotions and tailoring their products and services to meet their immediate needs. We all know that the current situation we're all faced with has put a lot of people in a situation whereby they most likely would want to do away with their wants and focus on their needs. So having a product that genuinely offers its users what they need on a day-to-day basis will help them stay afloat, which in turn builds brand loyalty.
Yeah. So Aflobi, just a follow-up question on that, since you talk about engagement and all that. So, and I think very important thing is because, and that is applicable to Yasin and Hazwa as well. Overall, because it's kind of service which is like repeated, which happens repeatedly, right? So how do you create a certain habit loop inside the app which ensures that user is coming and doing that transaction, or maybe booking that ride, or ordering anything, or asking for delivery again and again? So maybe we can start with you, Aflobi, and maybe then as follow-up I'll ask this to Yasin and Hazwa as well.
So creating a bit is often as a result of being flexible enough for what your users need. Like there's this saying, flexibility, I believe, is the spice of life. In as much as you want to have your users adopt new habits and have them interact with new features within the app that you have built for them, the great work lies with the team rolling out these features to make sure it is as simple and as flexible to adopt. Also, creating different forms of platforms to educate the users on new feature releases plays a huge role. How fast your users adopt these features, and that's why marketing also plays a huge role in this aspect. The good thing is, with the level of social media impact we have these days, it has made it more easy and accessible to tell user stories. So it's easier to connect with users by showcasing what you have built in different variations in order to achieve faster adoption within a stipulated time frame.
Got it. Interesting. So as a follow-up, if I may ask Hazwa, regarding habit loops, what's your take on it? Like, how do you create habit loops of user so that repeated transactions are happening?
Okay, so ideally, in that case, we start with understanding the customer, as I mentioned before. So we do a lot of surveys, a lot of questionnaires, a lot of offline surveys, just to understand either the current customer that we have, what does the trend look like, what is it, and we take each vertical separately. So for example, we go to the food, what is the habit that we want to create of food? What is the current purchasing behavior? And from there, we tackle it by understanding what habits our current action customer doing and how exactly we want to increase it. And based on that, we try to drive it with a lot of communication, a lot of offer, and a lot of, again, testing to see exactly how it goes. Sometimes some habits are related to choices. So we try to have more choices by implementing what exactly they're looking for. And sometimes their habit is like the experience itself and going with faster delivery and a lower delivery fee, for example. So we try to tackle all these habits and behavior that we want to increase in the next, for example, quarter by understanding the current quarter behavior and trends, and then plan our general communication tactical plans according to that.
Yeah, I think that's where I think your Q-commerce as a platform comes into play, because that's basically changing habits of the customer, is where you have brought in something like almost like a third generation kind of a delivery services. So
yes,
you guys deliver like in 15 minutes.
Exactly, we deliver in 15 minutes for groceries. But this is the main, like what exactly we're looking for and what is actually the main point of our customer right now, the current customer and the new customer that we want to target. And that actually goes a lot with a lot of CX and research and a lot of top of mind also. So we gather all this information to define what happened that our customer need, and we can develop and just go ahead with it and make a lot of acquisition and orders from. So as we're now focusing more heavily in Q-commerce, that's actually what we
Interestingly, whatever you guys are talking about is all leading to customer centricity, and in that circle of, analytics, customer engagement, and product experience. So glad that, concepts that are being told here are very much applicable to some of these conglomerates.
Yeah.
Yasin, over to you regarding habit loops, what you guys are implementing. I know there are a lot of things, I think as habits, people are getting created, coming, chatting with that person, and then, getting their order executed. But are there more things that would be insightful to you all? And before you answer, I would like to tell my audience that we are open to questions. So if you guys have any questions you want to ask our speakers, so feel free to, put it in the comments box. Yeah, Yasin, over to you.
Thanks, Manak. So for us in Marsul, we, like I mentioned, we focus on the personal touch and the human sort of touch. So for us, the habit loops and comes really from the feedback loops. So both courier and buyer are now accustomed to a certain way of the order flow and managing it. So when you adjust one part, you adjust the other, by necessity. So, for example, we used to have couriers ask the buyer to confirm that they want this order, they are serious about it, etc. And that was something to create a habit in couriers to always be on the lookout. So they always we try and be somewhat hands-off, between the interaction between both. So unless a problem happens, we try not to intervene. Because we want to give, like Aflobi said, ultimate flexibility, and flexibility is the spice of life. So we try and encourage our users to have the habit, as a courier, to avoid the scam users, for example, or to be more careful in general, and not assume things from buyers. So that's the sort of element we try and focus on. And since we try and collect as much contextual information about our users, we try and also for example, in searching, we have a very unique searching experience. So whichever kind of dialect you're typing in, or language, or let's say how many errors you make in your query, we have an intelligent machine learning based searching system that will try and understand, based on your cohort and your segment, that this is the thing you're looking for. People like you are usually looking for groceries, so you're probably trying to search for groceries. So that's where we create a habit loop for them. So if a user for us is targeting groceries in Marsul, we show them groceries always, so they can keep coming to what they like. And if they're not interested in, for example, other services like donating, for example, food delivery, pharmacies, we don't show them that. We try and
how do you get not interested as a behavior? That would be interesting to know, because of course we get to know what is liked by them, what is disliked by them. How do you get that?
Well, NPS definitely helps.
Okay.
NPS measured on an order by order basis, as well as we have this, you could say, 3 pillars of rating in Marsul. So the courier is rating the buyer, how their interaction went. The courier is also rating the partner, which is the pickup point, basically, whichever vertical it is. And every other party is rating the 2 other parties. And from that, we can get a sort of matrix of how did this experience go. And you sometimes find interesting sort of insight when the buyer is rating the courier 2 stars and the courier is rating the buyer 5 stars.
Yeah.
So you can see that perhaps the problem wasn't with the courier as much as the type of order that it was. And so this is basically how we try and gauge, as you said, the uninterest rate.
So a follow-up question to you, Yasin. You spoke of personalization at scale. You spoke of how referrals and surveys are working for you. Overall, if I have to talk about word of mouth, right? Because it's all about experience in the end. So how much word of mouth is helping you with better acquisition? So is that play one of the key roles as far as growth is concerned?
Yes, definitely. In Rasul, actually, we try and have this sort of familial sort of feeling with our users. So if you see our Twitter handle, for example, it's quite lighthearted, it's quite friendly, and interacts with users in their language. It's a sort of young approach to social media, which we've recently seen almost every other company try to adopt, the famous Burger King and their incident in the US on Twitter. But we've been there from the start, let's say. We were not going to say pioneers, but we were like early adopters of this approach. So we try and foster a community basically around what Mersul does. So for example, we try and keep an eye out for communities of couriers, communities of buyers. We try and see their organic feedback as it builds within their own silos. And we try and monitor it without intervention, direct intervention. So we see most people, like, for example, as a concrete anecdote, we used to notice that many couriers were struggling with cash flow. And more specifically, they were struggling with the cash out experience. So we've integrated with multiple banks in Saudi to make cash out instantaneous. And for a while, I'm not sure if this is still the case, but for a while we were the only app in Saudi actually offering that. So you can imagine you're paying for the order right now. The buyer is paying digital payment, so you're not getting the cash on hand, and it's getting transferred to you within like 10 minutes max. So it's being rerouted, and there's lots of payments and API work, as you're probably aware, going on behind the scenes. But that was to tackle a big pain point regarding payments and cash flow for couriers, because if he doesn't get this amount till tomorrow, maybe he can't work today because he doesn't have the cash flow to continue working for other orders. So we definitely try to get this community sort of feeling with Mersul. We try and sponsor many many activities. We have Mersul Park, which is the stadium for Nasr team. It's a local football team.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a joint sort of branding thing. You can look it up, Mersul Park.
You should have got Ronaldo. He recently switched, so maybe he could have joined you guys.
Yeah, maybe. If you drop by, we were happy to share tickets.
Interesting. So, Aflobi, I would like to ask you something similar on the referral side of it, like word of mouth. Does that play a key growth when it comes to Plenty Waka? Yeah, you're on mute, Aflobi.
Okay. So that word is like a mantra in Plenty Waka. Like, you cannot overemphasize the effect of word of mouth marketing in a space like ours. There's this popular saying where I come from: it takes one to know one. Over 70% of our users today were introduced by word of mouth. In a clear case of maybe a user is trying to leave work hurriedly because they need to get to the bus stop to wait for buses, and his or her colleagues, bump into them, and a conversation ensues. It's easy for the Plenty Waka user to convince his or her colleague to relax, because with the Plenty Waka app, their colleague can easily search on the app and see what buses are approaching them, how many buses are online, how many buses are applying their route, and which one is closest to them. It enables them to convince the new user that, from the comfort of this office, you can actually, book and secure a seat on the buses you're seeing in the app and not have to worry over fighting other people at the bus stop to get on a bus. If I were one of my colleagues, being introduced to that type of service, I don't think I need to get paid to refer 5 of my friends who I know go through daily hassles of getting from point A to point B using public transportation. And in cases where I know where my friends use my referral code, for instance, I'm also getting to make money for referring them. So I definitely want to do more than just introduce such service to 5 friends. Practically all my neighborhood would love to hear about it. On feedback from users, people underestimate how informed their users are most times, and thereby pay little attention to what their customers are saying. A clear example of this is assuming that because I'm listening to Yanni's Adagio in C minor makes me an alien to music without having any prior encounter with me. Whereas I might be a classical pianist who can easily break down the Latin chord Yanni played in that track. And that's exactly how we, project user feedback at Plenty Waka. We take them wholeheartedly, and we collate the data and use this feedback to improve and give people what we think would best resolve their opinion of the service. And we've gotten testimonials of things like this because we listen to their feedback. And at the end of the day, the product we are building is for the customers. It's not for us. We are in this business because of them. And when they need us to make improvement at every point in time, it is our core duty to ensure that we deliver on what their desires are much more. And then if it's within our capacity to roll out at the time of, the request. So word of mouth is a very potent virtue that we have used to acquire a lot of our users, because I remember right from day one when we launched in 2019 and we were picking just like 5 to 6 people on a day-to-day basis. It took those same 5 people that we were moving to get us about 50 to 100 to 200 users within a space of 2 weeks. And that's because at first when we launched, the service was alien to them. Nobody had believed that, there would ever be this level of service in Lagos, for instance. They were used to the status quo. They were used to the traditional mode of transportation where you get to move from point A to point B in rickety buses. Sometimes you dress so fine and leave your house, but by the time you get to your office, you have maybe a hole in your suit. You have, all manner of funny smells on your body. And that's because you do not have a choice. Now, Plenty Worker came to the rescue to provide a solution that now gives people a choice of better service offering. And thereby, such services don't even need a $1 million marketing campaign. Because if you were to use that kind of service, for instance, once you get to work, the first thing you're going to do in your chat with your friend is, guys, you won't believe what I went through today. Can you believe that I didn't take downfall, for instance? I had this very, super white voice that conveyed me from my house to the office, and all I had to do was download the Plenty Worker app. With doing that, if you have 50 people on the same floor with you at that instance who probably have been also experiencing the same kind of hassles you go through on a daily basis, even before you finish saying whatever it is you have to say, you probably find about 20 to 30% of them already downloading the app, trying to inquire what the app is about. And that is how word of mouth spreads like fire. So it's in 2 ways. It can actually go both ways. It can go in a positive light for you, and the same way it can also go in a negative light. Because if that user now has a very bad, terrible first-hand experience, the first thing they get to do when they get to the office is, man, this guy has really messed me up. And from that one word, messed up, you can imagine the level of seed it's sowing in, the hearts of other potential users you could have actually onboarded on your app. So word of mouth is like one of the biggest strengths of what we have done so far at Plenty Worker, and we don't take it lightly. We only try to build on it and see how much more we can improve it and enhance it to, further engage and onboard new users on our platform.
Interesting, Aflabi. Those are very interesting stories and points that you've called out. Haswa, I would like to talk to you about one interesting question that has come from the audience as well. Now that's more of a finance-based question, but Hunger Station or Talaba, they come up with so many features and so many other interesting things that you could do. So the question is, how do you create and ensure a customer stays with you without rather taking up complementary solutions from elsewhere? So they would have used you for a specific service, but the complementary solutions can be taken from somewhere else. For example, let's say if I have to relate this in your scenario, it is like food or maybe order anything as one of the interesting features you have. But let's say groceries or quick market can be taken by some other player in the market. How do you ensure that complementary solutions are not taken up by elsewhere?
That's actually one of the key strategies that we're trying to apply in all our platforms, is to become the super app where customer will come and eliminate any other, I'm not going to say competitor, but at least we're trying to offer them a variety of choices, which is another key metric that we're trying to follow, is each app have their own choices. So customer will have the opportunity to try quick market, our super fast grocery dark stores, which is deliver in 15 minutes across all KSA. You can deliver anything, order anything, and get whatever you want. You can order your grocery, you can order your pharmacy stuff, you can order your bakery stuff, whatever thing. What we're trying to heavily is to provide choices and linking it with a lot of product innovation, UX, understanding the UX journey and the personas exactly, and from there driving these services for them. Payment option is a main driver, as Yasin mentioned before. Having choices also in payment, having choices in delivery is a key driver to keep the customer engaged and keep them satisfied, because they're gonna, whatever they're gonna look for, they will find it eventually within your portfolio.
Interesting. In fact, I like how Amazon does it. I mean, there are like a lot of features they have. Okay, from Amazon Pay, like as in their payments wallet, to basically their e-commerce, to their OTT platform, and still you are able to engage with all the platforms with that one center opinion, saying that okay, this is what you can do by just enabling one specific section. So overall, thank you so much, all of you. I think we have come to the end of our webinar. Very interesting insights. Altogether, I'm pretty happy with the kind of insights that I've got from the from you champions in the market right now. A last quick poll from the audience I would like to have, which is on their experience with us. So I think we all of us spoke of the experience, the what kind of NPS scoring we generally do. It is time for us, for our audience to start scaling us and giving us their input. Like how did they like our webinar? How was everything in regards to their opinion on the experience that they've got from us today. But otherwise, thank you so much, Yasin, Hazwa, Aflobi, for your time and effort today. I think pointers and insights that you guys have given has been like super interesting for us. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks a lot for having us. It was
pleasure.
really lovely.
All right. Thank you. Bye.